after yet another disappointing run in the playoffs. The Bucks look to make some big changes to try and keep Giannis on their roster. What do you think the Bucks should do this offseason to stay in contention, Liam?
For me, there's two trades that I like for the Bucks. The first is going to OKC and getting the man Chris Paul. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's that perfect playmaker, which would really help the Bucks out where they're really struggling in playoff time. To get Chris Paul, they're going to have to give up a bit. I think they'd have to give up Bledsoe, Robin Lopez, Ilyasova, DJ Wilson, DiVincenzo, and the 2021 first round pick. So obviously they've got to really give OKC a lot. They're happy to move on from Chris Paul, and I think it's a great trade for both parties. You got a starting five with Chris Paul, Wesley Matthews, Khris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez. Obviously in the East, it's now or never for the Bucks. If they don't win, Giannis is more than likely going to leave in free agency.
3 years. 3 years now that the Bucks have flamed out in the playoffs. Obviously the last 2 years, Giannis has been MVP. Eric Bledsoe has to go. He has underperformed all 3 of those years. He has been one of the key reasons why they've just sputtered on offense. He's a great defensive guard, but he has failed to offer anything offensively during the playoffs, and that just simply can't go, especially with Bledsoe being that point guard. He should be the primary ball handler. Bucks need to swing for the fences to try and keep Giannis.
For sure. We saw kind of Giannis was quite openly frustrated with how the Bucks dealt with Malcolm Brogdon. They obviously didn't want to pay him what he wanted. They didn't want to go into the luxury tax, and you're not keeping your superstar happy. What I'm trying to say, the East is only going to get stronger from last year. You've got Brooklyn coming back this year with KD and Kyrie. You've got the Heat, obviously were incredible this year. The Celtics, they're going to be back there, and you can't write off the Raptors. So you've got 5 teams contending for the East. Which is obviously, it's never a walk to the finals, but Giannis at least needs to make the finals with the Bucks for him to have any chance of staying. Giannis is kind of that the first 3 quarters kind of scorer, and then Middleton has stepped up in that fourth quarter a lot of the time where Giannis is pretty tired from
just his play style.
But Chris Paul, that clutchness that he has, would be a massive addition. He's not a huge volume shooter, but he hits the shots when they matter, and he's a perfect point guard. He's a future Hall of Famer. And it's just the right fit for the Bucks, and they should be doing everything that they possibly can to get him. They're going to have to give a lot for him, as I listed earlier, but it's definitely the right play for the Bucks.
2 players I could see them getting. Buddy Hield, number 1. The Bucks only had 3 players shoot over 36% from 3 who shot more than 3 threes a game. That's pretty horrible. One of them was Korver. You had Khris Middleton, and then you had Wesley Matthews. So adding some 3-point shooting, which is what we saw was the Achilles heel of the Bucks in the playoffs, where they couldn't make any of their threes despite Giannis drawing in 4 or 5 defenders in the paint against the Heat. That's what the Bucks need to do. They need to find some 3-point shooters, and Buddy Hield is, one of those 3-point shooters who probably won't come with a massive price tag like Chris Paul, where you might have to trade, half the team away just to get Chris Paul. So if I'm the Bucks and I don't want to move on from Bledsoe, or I just don't think it's possible to get CP3, I'm trying to get Buddy Hield or potentially Bogdanovic, who's also, a good 3-point shooter. And having those guys just take some of the pressure off. And we always say this with pretty much every contending team. Oh, you need 3-and-D guys. But that's literally all you need for Giannis. He has more gravitational pull in the paint than any player in the league right now. And that leaves a bunch of space for those shooters on the 3-point line. And if you have guys like Eric Bledsoe who just simply can't make them, obviously you're going to lose. So they need to find some options on the 3 line, whether it's trading Bledsoe for Buddy Hield or trading Bledsoe for a Bogdanovic sign and trade situation. I'm not sure, but I think those are the types of free agents they should be looking for.
Yeah, I love that Buddy Hield pick, Mike. I reckon he's proven that he's an elite shooter in this league, and if you give him those kind of opportunities to star at a Bucks team, which will obviously be very heavily under the spotlight next season. It could be quite interesting to see him really have a breakout year. He's obviously very unhappy at the Kings as well. He doesn't like Luke Walton as a coach, so I think that move makes a lot of sense. One thing I'd like to highlight about the Milwaukee Bucks is they've had the best regular season record for the past 2 seasons in the NBA, but the head coach, Mike Budenholzer, needs to come under some scrutiny. He's only playing Giannis 35 minutes in the playoffs, which is absolutely ridiculous. He's an all-star. He should be playing 40 plus minutes a night in those big moments. That's literally the whole reason why he's at your team is to win your playoff games. And for him to only be playing 35 minutes, it's ridiculous. And also just to kind of double down on the poor coaching of Milwaukee, that regular season record is incredible, but he doesn't make adjustments in playoff time, which is so important, because you're literally, in a best of 7 series against another team, and that's all you have to do is beat that team. It doesn't matter like how well you match up against every other team in the league. It's just about that matchup, and Budenholzer doesn't make those adjustments. So questions do need to be asked again if the Bucks fail next year. Obviously he's not the right man for the job, because Giannis will probably leave. But those changes need to happen this season, because you don't want to repeat of what's happened for the past 3 years now, where the Bucks have flopped in the playoffs.
Sure, I think it is hard with Mike Budenholzer. He's one of the best coaches in the league in the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, he has shown a lack of ability to adapt to the situation at hand. I do think that moving on from him would probably be a bad idea. You couldn't really replace him with any of the available candidates out there. But the Bucks front office does have to have a look at, number one, the coaching staff around Budenholzer. So whether that's, offensive coordinators or shooting coaches, that kind of thing. Because why are the Bucks so bad from the 3-point line? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, their shooters have so much space, and it's either a personnel issue or it's a coaching issue. It's one or the other, right? And they need to look at that and try and address that issue. I think Giannis will spend this offseason trying to improve his 3-point shot, like he probably has the last few off seasons. I think he knows that's a big glaring weakness in his game, and he's gonna spend the time to fix it. He's just one of those types of guys, and it's up to the Milwaukee Bucks to try and do their due diligence and try and improve the team as much as possible. If they can't bring in someone like a Chris Paul or a Buddy Hield, and they want to keep the current team together and just say, let's just run it back for whatever reason, if they're idiots, and they want to try and go through the draft to add some 3-and-D depth, with the 24th pick, they could potentially sign one of my personal favorite prospects, Josh Green. He's a hard-nosed defender. He obviously can shoot the 3 ball, 36% from 3, and he can be one of those 3-and-D guys who can have an instant impact for the Milwaukee Bucks next season, right? Like, especially if they do decide to, move on from Bledsoe, having that extra guy in there who's a defender will be extremely helpful. But Josh Green, that's a prospect I like the Bucks drafting, but beyond the draft, the Bucks need to try and swing for the fences, make it Toronto Raptors-like trade where they traded away DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard. So, some out-of-the-box ideas. I mean, obviously they could try and trade Bledsoe, but they could also try and trade Khris Middleton, who has also been one of the reasons that they haven't done that well in the playoffs. He has, shot phenomenally in the regular season. I think he was in the 50, 40, 90 club. And, other than that one OT game, Khris Middleton wasn't really pulling the weight of his max contract. And I think they could get some pretty good pieces for Middleton. And the Bucks could try and create another package, a trade package, to bring in another superstar beside Giannis. Because Middleton is not a superstar. Bledsoe is not a superstar. Right now, it seems like a lot of the weight of that team is on Giannis. And that's what we saw in one of those, I think it was game 3 against Miami. Giannis had, I think, 11 boards or something in the first quarter, and he was playing lights out, and the rest of his team could not make any shots.
Mike, you do mention the potential of trading Middleton. Personally, I'd say it's quite a bad call, in the sense that, if they don't make that signing of Chris Paul. For me, that's what the Bucks need to do, and that is how they have the best chance at winning a championship next year, which is obviously what you should be doing as an NBA organization every season. But if you add Chris Paul, he creates shots for Giannis, which he obviously struggled with in the playoffs. Being the primary ball handler, he could never get to his spot on the court, which Chris Paul, obviously is one of the best playmakers of all time. He won't have any issue with that. And what I like about the Chris Paul addition is that it'll free Middleton up to kind of play as that more Klay Thompson, dead-eye 3-and-D player, similar to Ray Allen early on in the Big 3 Celtics days. These elite defensive players who can also shoot the ball at a very high percent. If you have an elite playmaker in Chris Paul, he's going to just flourish from that. And so I feel, the Middleton and Bledsoe package deal for another All-Star is something that, if Giannis went out and said, I want this player at the team, obviously they could do that. But I think he's, he likes Middleton. Add Chris Paul, and it'll really free up, I think, both Giannis and Middleton to just continue to improve.
Bucks need to make a splash play. Otherwise, Giannis is gone. It looks like, everyone's assuming he's gone after this year anyways. I don't think he'll sign a Supermax with the Bucks this coming off season. I think that he's going to field some offers, whether it's from Miami and those other teams, unless the Bucks make a big splash play to find a true second option for Giannis. Because Khris Middleton, as good as he is in the playoffs, he's shown that he's incapable of being that second option.
Ultimately, it's now or never for the Bucks. If they don't make a big move this offseason, and if they fail again in the playoffs, Giannis is gone. The Bucks franchise will be, sent to the bottom of the Eastern Conference once again. So it's so important for the Bucks to make the right move this offseason. Let us know down below what you guys think the Bucks should do this offseason. Hey guys, cheers for making it to the end of the video. Really appreciate your time and listening to our opinions. Whether you agree or disagree with us, please drop a comment down below. Let us know. We're just trying to learn and grow our channel. And talking to growing our channel, feel free to drop us a subscribe as well. Really help us grow and really get our name out there. Really appreciate it, guys.